Next, we have another really special guest, Mr. Henrik Olofsson. Mr. Henrik is the owner of house number 3, personal fitness training studio, and his specialty is fitness training. And today he will be sharing with us about his expert experience on the introduction to functional movement screen. So please welcome Mr. Henrik.
สวัสดีครับทุกคนผมชื่อเฮนริกนะครับผมอยู่ที่เมืองไทย7 ปีผมพูดภาษาไทยได้นิดหน่อยแต่ว่าวันนี้ผมสอนเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับ So as I said, my name is Henrik and I've been in Thailand for 7 years. I am the owner of house number 3, which is a personal training studio in Prakanong. And today I actually have one of my coaches with me here, and Kunten. So he will help out. My background is from studying exercise science in America and my home country of Sweden. So today I'm going to share functional movement screen and an introduction to the functional movement screen. And it has been the most important system that I have used during my career working in the fitness industry for about 10 years. Normally, as a master instructor for FMS in Asia, I am teaching this course certification over 3 days. And today I have 30 minutes, so I will do my best to make a summary of the functional movement screen. So the objective of this seminar is to talk about the importance of having a movement baseline. So whether you're working with students or athletes or whatever population it is that you're working with. And it's also, another objective is to explain the principle of movement quality before movement quantity. And when it comes to the outcome, so my goal is that you, about 28 minutes from now, have an increased appreciation for fundamental movement patterns, that you have an awareness or an increased awareness of what to look for in movement screening, as well as a basic understanding of the functional movement screen. So we're going to start with a historical perspective. So behind me is a picture of a man named Gray Cook, and he is based in America. He is a physical therapist and a strength trainer. Back in 1997 is when he started to use what today is the functional movement screen. So he was working with high school athletes back in America, and what he saw was a lot of them get injured and in non-contact injuries, and he wanted to come up with some sort of a system, or he wanted to improve the systems that were currently used in trying to detect injuries before they happen. So what he did together with a couple of his colleagues was that he started to work on this functional movement screen which has 7 tests that we're going to demonstrate a little bit later. And he wanted to bridge the gap between the medical questionnaires that you do before you start moving or before you join a sport, such as do you have any heart disease history in your family, or are you taking any medication, and he wanted to bridge that gap between those medical questionnaires and performance testing, which is measuring how strong you are, how fast you can run. So he wanted something in between them, because he was interested in not the quantity but more of the quality of movement. He thought that was an important part in trying to evaluate people before you put them into more higher performance tests. So today you see that the functional movement screen FMS is used by a lot of professional sports teams. Almost in every league in any different sports, so the English Premier League, the Italian League, we have professional baseball, we have professional American football. A lot of the top universities in the world are using functional movement screen, and as well as some of the world-class gyms, including my own. But we're seeing that the functional movement screens is used as a standard operating procedure, and it's just a part of what these facilities or these institutions are using on a daily basis. So out of the audience here, I wanted to just ask you a question. So how many of you are currently working with or are planning to work with populations when it comes to movement? So please raise your hand. If you are currently working with people who are doing movement, or if you're planning to work with people who are doing movement. I see one hand, I see two hands, a few of you. I was actually, I don't know, are you studying sports science? Some of you? I was doing sports science back in university, and my goal was to actually become a physical education teacher. But that was my plan. My stepdad was actually a PE teacher. But then I changed a little bit of the path, and instead I worked with education in the fitness industry instead. But one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit when I was in school is that the grades, so when you were doing PE, you were being graded based on participation, but also based on your performance, like how fast can you run and how much work can you do. The same thing goes for the fitness industry. Most people in the fitness industry are just worried about duration, so how long do you exercise, frequency, how often do you exercise, and intensity, how hard do you exercise. But when we're looking at the functional movement screen as a system, this is taking a little bit different approach, because I think that it is a lot easier to measure quantity versus quality. Measuring quality of movement can be hard. It's subjective, unless you have a system to help you. Whereas quantity of movement is a little bit easier. I can measure how fast you run by using a timer. I can just see how heavy you are by counting the or see how strong you are by counting the weight on the bar. So it's a lot easier to look at movement from a quantity point of view instead of a quality point of view. But again, making movement more objective is possible, because this is a performance pyramid, and this is also something that's been developed by the functional movement systems and the functional movement screen by Ray Cook. And what this performance pyramid shows is that movement is important. In fact, it is the base, it is the foundation of where you build performance, fitness, and skill on top. If you lack in movement, your performance most likely will suffer. If you don't have enough mobility or stability or proprioception, that base of movement is going to be more narrow. So what happens if you're trying to build fitness and strength power on top of a poor movement base? You might be limited in performance, and you might even run into worst case scenarios where you're getting injured. And again, the very thing on top, the skill, which is related to whatever sport or activity you do, such as a golf swing or a tennis serve, that might also suffer. So again, the functional movement screen is looking at that base of movement quality and the importance of movement. Here's a video. This is flipped on the side. I apologize for that. Did not look like that on my computer. There's a man who's trying to do a movement here. He's supposed to bring his feet between those two pins. You can see how he's swinging his leg around them, and he's a little bit wobbly on that one leg. If you look on the person to your left here on the screen, it looks like he's got a lot more control. So he's moving his leg nice and smooth over the little hurdle. I'm also looking at what's happening to the dowel. Is he maintaining his his core braced? Is he doing a lot of movement there, or can he maintain stability? So again, we're looking at movement from different ways, and again, sometimes it can be hard to measure movement, but with the movement screen it's possible, and this is a way, and this is one of the ways that we do it. And we can easily tell which one of the two have better movement. I know that if I was training, or if I was working with these two people, I know which one of them I would be more comfortable in asking to sprint fast, or in asking to balance on one leg. I can clearly see who's got more problems with proprioception and balance, just based on this simple screen. So here's a question. And I was just debating, I was just talking to my coach 10 today, if I can get you to move, and he said maybe, so we'll see if it works. But what I want you to do is just a very simple little test. I want you to stand up, please. So please, go ahead and stand up. And from here, we're going to pretend like we're holding the bar on our hands. So Ten is going to show. He's going to hold the dowel behind his neck. And I want you to try to raise that one foot off the ground. Good. And then I want you to pretend that you step over a hurdle, place the heel on the ground, and bring that foot back again. Good. Try the other leg. We raise the foot, step over the imaginary hurdle, just touch the heel, don't put your weight on that foot, and then bring that foot back again. Boom. Good. Beautiful. Thank you so much. You can have a seat. The demonstration, the purpose, why I wanted you to move like this was, I wanted you to experience, what it's like to stand on one leg and balance on one leg, to maintain balance on that stance leg, and to try to stay upright. So I don't know if you have ever looked at movement this way, or if you have thought about this before asking somebody to perform, that hey, what if I look at the quality of movement first? But again, my goal and one of the objectives of today is that I would like to make you a little bit more aware that the quality of movement matters. So again, as discussed, FMS is your movement baseline. The tagline for FMS is what you can see in red. Move well, then there's a dot. And then it says move often, there's no dot. And the point behind this is that we want you to move well before we ask you to move often. You can move often as much as you want. There's no dot there, it's infinitive. But first, we want you to move well. So here are the 7 tests in the functional movement screen. It takes about 15 minutes to do. And 10 is going to show you first. We got the first screen that we're working on is the deep squat. So we're going to use the test kit. You don't have to use it, but you can do it without the test kit if you have your own way to solve it. But this is just specifically built for the functional movement screen. So the test kit has a dowel. 10 is going to get first his feet about shoulder width apart, toes point forward. He's going to take the dowel, place it on top of his head. I want 90 degrees in his elbow, and then from there he's going to press the dowel overhead. Now I'm going to look for a couple of different things, but I'm going to only ask him to do 3 repetitions. It's not a fitness test, it's a movement test. So first of all, 10 is going to squat down, and he's going to stand back up. So what I'm looking for here is a couple of different things. I'm looking at what's happening with his feet, what's happening with his knees, what's happening with his torso angle, and what has ultimately happened with the dowel at the top of his head. So when I've assessed him or I've had him do 3 repetitions, he will get a score, or I will move him on to the next step of the test. So the next step of the test is going to be 10 is going to elevate his heels on the board. He'll perform the same movement. And again, I'm looking for a couple of different scoring criteria. So I want his heels to stay down, I want his toes not to move at all. I want his knees to not cave in. And I want the dowel to be directly over his feet, viewed from the side. So the first time he did a squat, show them from the side. The first time he did a squat, he was squatting down, but he could not maintain the dowel over his feet. So the second time, I let him do three tries, but then after that, I asked him to move up on the board, which is giving him a slight advantage. And again, I score him based on what I see in my observations. Now the deep squat is a very broad movement. There's a lot of joints involved. I cannot diagnose him based on this. I don't know why he cannot hold the stick overhead. All I know is that he can. I don't know why. I can just observe that he can. The point of the functional movement screen is not to give him an answer why he can't hold a stick overhead. The point of the screen is for me to observe, this is what's happening, and then I continue with the screen. So the second that we do is going to be the hurdle step. So the hurdle step is going to be done just the one that we saw in the video before. So he's going to be standing on one leg. The stance leg is going to have the dowel behind his head, on his across his shoulders. He's going to take one foot, step over the hurdle, touch the heel on the opposite side, bring the foot back again. So the hurdle is going to be measured based on his tibial tuberosity. So go ahead. He's going to step over. He's going to touch his heel on the opposite side, and he's going to bring his foot back again. The scoring criteria here is that I don't want any movement of the dowel. I don't want him to touch the hurdle with his foot, which he did right now. And I don't want him to do any weight shift over to that leg, the moving leg. I want him to maintain his leg on the stance leg, or his weight on his stance leg. So we'll check both sides. And if he's got pain at any part of the movement, he will need to tell me, and that's information that I will then pass on to a medical professional that can help him deal with the pain. So once he's done 3 of those, he will get a score. So I will score him based on how he moves. There's 4 scoring criteria. To get a score of 0, he has pain, no matter how good the movement was. He might move really well, it looks great, but he has pain. That's out of my scope of practice. I'm going to ask him to go see a medical professional. To get a 1, he is unable to perform the movement. So for example, he cannot step over the hurdle. He hits the hurdle. He's not able to do the movement. To get a score of 2, he can perform the movement, but there's a little bit of compensation. He's a little bit wobbly perhaps. And to get a score of 3, he needs to perform the movement perfectly, with no movement in his torso or the dowel, and I want his ankle, knees, and hips to maintain in the sagittal plane. That's the score of 3. Okay. The third test is an inline lunge. Inline lunge, we're going to look for, and you can relate all these tests back to activities and sports and such. So in this particular case, the inline lunge, we're going to assess ability to decelerate and change direction. So he's going to be standing on the board. According to his tibial tuberosity measurement, we're going to place his feet a certain distance apart. He's going to place the dowel on the back along his spine, 3 points of contact, back of the head, upper back, and tailbone. From here, I want his stick to maintain vertical, and his back knee to touch the board as he descends into a lunge. So go ahead. So 10 has done this before. He's got good balance and he knows what this test is about. You'll find that a lot of times people are not moving as well as 10 does. So again, we're checking both sides, we see left and right, because it also gives us a chance to check for asymmetries, left versus right side. Again, I have a scoring criteria that I follow as a person screening 10. Today I'm not going to cover all of those scoring criteria. I just wanted to demonstrate to you how a screen looks, what the movements are, and a little bit of the purpose behind the movements. But I will give him a score. It's either going to be 0 if he has pain, It will be a 1 if he can't complete the movement. It will be a 2 if he's completing the movement with some compensation, and it will be a 3 if he can complete the movement according to the scoring criteria. So the fourth test. Now, these first 3 tests are what we call the functional movements, the functional tests. They are quite broad, and again, they involve a lot of the joints in the body. Now we're going to start to break it down a little bit, and the first test we're going to do is the shoulder mobility. So shoulder mobility, Ten is going to go and make a fist with his thumb inside his hand. He's going to, without moving his neck, he will bring his hands on his back as close together as he can. And I will use the stick, dowel, to measure the distance between his fists. We'll go on the other side as well. You can tell there's a difference, left and right. And from there I get good information that I will use later on. 3 times on each side is normally what we do to allow the person to score as best as he can. Including in the mobility test is also a clearing test. I'm not a physiotherapist, but the least I can do is to check if there's any pain in the movement, because we know that pain changes movement. So I'm going to ask Ten to bring his hand on his shoulder and lift his elbow as high as he can. Is there any pain? No pain. Try the other side. Lift. Is there any pain? No pain. This is a clearing test. It's not a test that I scored him on. I only ask him, do you have pain, yes or no? Because we'll find sometimes that people have a good shoulder mobility test. It looks like they have a lot of mobility and range of motion, but they do this impingement test and we'll find that they still have some pain. And like I said again, pain changes movement. It's not normal to have pain, and that needs to be dealt with a medical professional. Now, next one is this one was an upper body mobility. So shoulder mobility is the name of the test, but we're not just looking at the glenohumeral joint, we're looking at the thoracic spine, cervical spine, also like the flexibility of the lats, the pecs. We're looking at a lot of different things here. Next one is going to be the active straight leg raise, and that's a little bit more on the lower body mobility. So I don't know if you can see, but Ten is laying down with the board right on the back of his knees. I'm going to place a stick. This is going to be my reference point, right in the middle of his thigh. And from here he will lift one leg up and bring it back down in control. So he needs to do this smooth. He's going to go on the other side and right back down. And this stick I use as a reference point, and it's going to tell me what score he got. So again, it's either going to be a 0. If there's pain, it'll be a 1, a 2, or a 3, depending on how far he gets his leg. So when I'm screening him, I'm looking at several things. I'm looking at what's happening to his down leg as he raises his moving leg. So it's not just hamstring flexibility. I'm looking at his down leg just as much. Is he lifting that hip when he goes into flexing his hip? So there's not just the hamstring, we're looking at the anterior portion as well, core stability and core control in this particular screen. The 6th test is going to be a trunk stability push-up. So the name has push-up in it. So it kind of looks like a traditional push-up, but slightly different. Now, Ten is going to lay on his back, lay on his stomach. He's going to reach his hands overhead. He's going to pull his thumbs down so that they are in line with the top of his forehead. So it's a little bit further up than you would do a normal push-up. From here, he's going to lift his knees off the ground, lift his elbows slightly off the ground, and he's going to push his body up in 1 unit and come back down. Normally, or not all the time, it looks as nice as this. So 10, let's go ahead and show one that doesn't look so nice. His body doesn't come up from the floor as 1 unit, and that happens a lot. So what can we get out of this? I don't know which muscle is weak. I don't know why he can't do it. All I know is that in a pattern like this, when he's asked to reactively control his stability in his core, he has some compensation. Do you think this is important if he's playing a sport when he's using his upper body, standing on his feet? It is, because what is generating force from his leg to his arm? Through his core, right? So we're looking at his reactive core stability in this particular drill, this particular test. We also have a clearing test. So Ten is going to show me how that goes. Laying down, hands are going to be now under his shoulders. He relaxes his lower body. All I want to see is extension of the spine. So he's going to press his chest off the ground. Is there any pain? No pain. I don't score it. I just ask him pain or no pain. The last one out of the 7 screens is going to be the rotary stability. This is again a little bit more on that core ability to control the core, but a little bit more through the transverse plane. So not just like the push-up, which is more that sagittal plane. Now we're looking more at the transverse plane and his ability to control rotation. So he's going to go down onto his knees and hands on the board. And this is a tricky one. He's going to go same side, so ipsilateral, right arm, right leg, extend out, and trying to touch his knee to his elbow, extend out again, and come down. I'm standing here in case he falls. Again, this is a test for me that I will score. So based on my observation, I have a scoring criteria, and then I will give him a number. It's either going to be 0 for pain, 1 if he cannot complete it. I give him a 2 if he can complete the movement, but there's some compensation. I give him a 3 if the movement is perfectly meeting all the scoring criteria. So if I wasn't happy with him after 3 attempts to score a 3, I'm going to ask him to go and attempt for a score of 2. And now I'm doing contralateral, which means it's going to be right arm in this case and left leg at the same time, similar to what you can find in the gym sometimes, the exercise called bird arm. So he's going to go out, reach out, try to touch his knees to his elbow. Good. When I scored him, I've got the last clearing test, which means Ten is going to flex his toes and he's going to sit back onto his heels as far back as he can. Similar to that child's pose as we see in yoga, and I'll ask him again, do you have any pain? So this is a spinal flexion clearing test. So looking at different ways to capture if there's pain in any of the movements. Thank you, Ten. So here we can see all the different tests that we just did. 7 of them, and like I said, if you are experienced and once you've practiced, this whole test doesn't take more than 15 minutes. I'll do it on a weekly basis, or I'll do it with every person that I meet the first time, and I can do it every month or every 2 months just to re-screen movement, to see that their movement patterns are still good, that they're not experiencing any pain. So once I have the score of FMS, I will use that when I design a program. I will use that when I give recommendations. So if he wants to press overhead, if he's doing a sport which requires him to put his hands overhead, if he's got a bad score on the shoulder mobility test, that's going to be interesting information that I can use. So really what FMS is, that it gives you that, first of all, it gives you the score, it gives you the movement baseline, but it also guides your next decision. So once I have the screen, once I have done the 7 tests with 10, out of those 7 tests, I will then identify which one is the one that has the highest priority. Which of the tests should I start with to try to improve? So this is what FMS gives me. So as a movement specialist or as a personal trainer or working in the field where I'm helping people to move better and to live a healthier life, this is great information. It makes my job very, very easy because I can look at his fundamental movement patterns. I can identify which one of them I should start with first, which one of them I should try to correct first. So it's either going to be movement health. Movement health meaning he has pain somewhere, and I will refer him to a medical professional. Or it might be movement competency. He has problems doing one of the movements, and then I can help him trying to improve that movement pattern. Or movement performance. Maybe he's moving well in all 7 tests. He doesn't have any pain. Great, it gives me the green light to then push him on to a little bit more high performance and capacity training. So it was 30 very quick minutes for me. I tried to condense as much information as I could, and I hope you found it useful. This is a picture from about 2 weeks ago. We were doing the functional movement screen course at my studio in Kharkov, so house number 3. We are going to have an FMS level 1 and level 2 course later this year as well in November. So all of you are welcome then. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me, and hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrik, for sharing about the functional movements and how important of the quality movement can be. So is there any question for this session? So I have one question. Okay, I think your set of the measurement of the movement is really good. How can we adapt into the real physical education classroom in the school?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you can do the functional movement screen one-on-one and in a private environment. But if you have a group of, let's say, 20 students or 30 students, it's a little bit different. And I understand that, those situations might come up. You can, however, do the movement screen in a group. It's possible. What you need to do is you need to have different stations. And you probably most likely need to have more than one person screening. But I guess the point with functional movement screen is that the information that you gain and the knowledge that you gain, just the way it opens your eyes to look at movement from a different point of view is extremely valuable. So if you're working, for example, when I'm working with a group of people, maybe it's 20 people exercising together, I will use some of the movements in my warm-ups. So I will do the deep squat. The people that I work with, they don't even know what I'm looking for. They think that it's a part of the warm-up, which it is. But I look at the movement and I can see some people turn their feet up, some people fall forward, some people have the knees caving in, some people can't keep the heels down. That information just adds on to information that I can use later in the session. So again, you can use the screen and make it more formal, following the 7 screens with a big group. You just have to have different stations where people rotate in. And maybe you just focus on one screen per day. Maybe you do the screen over 7 weeks. And you do, the first week you do just the deep squat with all your students. The next week you'll do the hurdle step with all your students. So to break it down. But again, if you're not doing the screen as a formal screen, it's still very useful having that information and the knowledge that FMS gives you just in a general setting when you're training or when you're working with the students, and just to observe and to screen the movement in general.
Okay, thank you very much.